Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris, here to talk about Alabama's win late on Saturday night over Maryland. We're sorry we're a little late getting to it. I've been dealing with a cold, needed some sleep this morning, and so we do it when we can. Anyway, boy, Alabama marches on behind an incredibly impressive performance after a slow start. The Crimson Tide now in the Sweet 16 to face San Diego State to get to the Elite Eight, Blake. No surprise here.
Nope. Man, we talked all season long about Alabama's ability to defend, and it always presents, a conundrum for the opponent, because it's like, and I saw this debate. I think it was actually Ken Pomeroy talked about this. I wish I could find his tweet, but you guys know how this works. Like, when I try to actually find something I want to talk about or showcase, it takes me a good 5 minutes, and we won't do that. But actually, here it is. I found it. What do you know, Chris? Here's something he tweeted, I guess maybe during the game last night or then. He said, the narrative that you need to control tempo against Alabama is not a good one, especially when Alabama is on D. If you're going to pass up early looks against them and insist on playing in the half court, good luck. Bama's been slightly worse in faster paced games this season. Now, here's why I found that interesting. Some people don't agree with him on that, but I do find this interesting. The point, I think, the bigger point there is, we've talked about all season that they are so good on defense that I think it's probably somewhere in the middle, in that if you try to run with them and you try to, play their type of tempo, well, what do you have to do, right? You've got to have a pretty stellar offensive game, and you've also understand that that's how they're going to play and that's how they want to play. So do you really want to play that game? But at the same time, if you do decide, and we talked about this, we said, look, if Maryland's going to have a chance here, it's probably all going to be about them trying to slow things down a little bit and, needing to make this more of a half-court game. But I think there is a point there where, great, try to score against Alabama in a half-court possession type set where you're looking across at your opponent and you see 6'9" Brandon Miller, 6'10" Noah Clowney, and 7 foot Charles Bediako.
Yeah.
And you've got quick hands on the outside with Quinterly, Sears, Burnett, Griffin, and so forth, right? So I think there's a point there, even if not everyone agrees with it. I think it's good luck. Like, it really is true. Like, just good luck. Like, you have to figure out how you're going to score against them. And I think for Maryland, it wouldn't have mattered, like, either way, because they just, Maryland, I think, went 1 of 8 from 3. They couldn't hit their free throws either. That doesn't help. They turned it over 13 times, 39% from 2. And meanwhile, Bama got to the free throw line 28 times at 21. The coach is saying, Chris, it's make as many free throws as your opponent attempts. And, Alabama made 21 free throws. Maryland attempted 21 free throws. And so, yeah, I think that I just thought that was a really fascinating discussion, because that's the thing. Like, we can talk about offense and how great, this guy is or this guy is and how they can go off because they play fast. But how do you score against them? That's the real question at this point.
Well, you mentioned Bediako. He was double-double last night, 10 and 10. But one thing that caught my eye, Javon Quinterly did not start a game for Alabama this year until the SEC tournament. Alabama is now 5-0 with him in the starting lineup. He gets 22 last night, which was a season high. That's a guy that's played a ton of basketball. They talk about how guards win you games in March. Javon Quinterly's played a ton of meaningful basketball. And that's one thing that kind of popped last night, is they've got him starting games now, and he is probably playing his best ball of the season just when Alabama could use it the most.
Yeah, no, he's been good. We saw the game against A&M in the championship in the SEC tournament. That was, he looked really good there. You can go back to how good he was, just kind of some of those shots he made in the game against Auburn in overtime in Tuscaloosa. But yeah, think about this. Like, we can go all the way back to last year, like you said, right? Who knows what happens last year? He had the injury in Notre Dame game, but I don't know if they win that game, because that team obviously didn't have the ceiling this team did. But you do think about how well he was playing at times last season. And I think you just look at kind of the progression this season, knowing that, early in the year, he wasn't playing as much. And now, you kind of see that they have to have him out there because he's really giving them a lot of quality minutes, and really producing at a pretty consistent rate. I know he had the game against Missouri where, he only had a point or whatever, but I think you can overlook that sometimes, knowing how many options are on this team scoring wise. You don't have to score something, but he has, and I think that's what's been impressive. And that's what we talked about, right? I mean, it's just Alabama's depth, man. It's just you go all the way through that lineup.
I mean, suddenly they got guys that are playing all year that are better playing in this tournament. Like Jaden Bradley is one of them.
Man, they are
because
just
they can afford to.
yeah. That's why I think, as we said, they're just so hard to beat is because maybe it's not Quinterly on this night. Maybe it's not Sears on that night. Maybe it's not, although there haven't been many games where Brandon Miller hasn't, done a whole lot. But we said it the other night, right? I mean, they scored 96 points against a 16 seed without Brandon Miller scoring a single point. Now you can say, well, it's a 16 seed. Well, I also saw that Purdue lost to a 16 seed. And so it's like, for still to put up 96 points, period, without your, star player who can put up 30 at any time, that just shows you that they have so many different guys that can step up in these situations. And yeah, I mean, they're good. What else do you say? Like they are just, man, when they are clicking, and you kind of see, like you said, they didn't get off to a great start in this game. Maryland kind of jumped out early, and I thought, well, maybe that's, what they need. Like that's, now you can control tempo a bit and try to do what you can to
I
kind of
thought
crack
that too. Yeah.
I mean, that was probably everybody's thought was, all right, well, now you can sort of play your game. No, not against Alabama. That's much easier said than done. And yeah, like they were really good. So
The other thing, Brandon Miller. You wondered if the groin injury was going to be significant. Those are tough to overcome. They recur all the time. Hey, didn't look like it bothered him last night. And I think probably that's the thing that you're most encouraged about if you're an Alabama fan coming out of last night. Not only that you won, but that doesn't appear to be a lingering concern based on performance last night.
yeah, it's always hard to tell in the tournaments, isn't it? Because like we know that how quickly games are played. Like you're playing today, and then you're playing less than 48 hours. Whatever. Like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like you just know that. And so it's always hard to kind of play that guessing game of, well, what's this guy percentage wise going to be? And we talked about he was on a clear minutes restriction in that first game, which again they didn't really need him, but you just didn't know. And I think that's definitely more encouraging now to kind of see that. And I think that's definitely going to be encouraging now that okay, you get, I think the game's not till Friday. So you get basically a full 5 days of rest or so. And I think that will be crucial too, heading into a game against a San Diego State team that, they can defend. I mean, you talk about top defenses, right? These are two of the top defenses from an efficiency standpoint in the country, in Alabama and San Diego State. So I would be surprised if they don't have a game plan to where maybe it is, hey, we're going to make these other guys beat us, and it's not going to be Brandon Miller. But as we just talked about a minute ago, Chris, that's a great game plan to have. But Alabama's proven time and time again that the other guys can beat you. And I just think that it's a very fascinating matchup with these two teams. I'm curious to see kind of I haven't looked at lines or anything yet, but I think this could be a pretty good game just based on how these two teams play, because San Diego State's one of those teams that kind of, I would say it's complete opposite of Alabama, but like we said, that they can defend, and that's the one common denominator these two teams having, there when you just look at it. And what does San Diego State also do pretty well? They defend the three. And so I think it sets up for a fun matchup there with the right to go to the Elite Eight. So,
all right. He's Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. We're Southeastern 14. If you would please hit the subscribe button. That's just a follow. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit the like button. Those things help our analytics. They help me fund my bottomless supply of Dayquil and NyQuil, which I'm very much in need of right now. Good grief.
You need a break, just like all the guys dealing with injuries right now. You need the break.
I've said some dumb stuff on these shows unintentionally.
You've called me you. Like I think that video is going to come up after this one, but
I don't even know who I am anymore.
We did record, I think, the Kentucky one before the Alabama one, just because it was fresh on our minds. And so, yeah, there's a little part at the end there where Chris forgets his name for a second. So please fund the cough medicine with hitting that like button and subscribe button, please.
I get it every year in March. It's awful. All right. Anyway, hope you don't get a cold. Hope you get to watch all the basketball you want to watch. That's kind of what we're doing. And when an SEC team completes a game or is about to play a game, we'll have either the recap or the preview of the next one. So, again, best way to get that, hit the subscribe button. He is Blake Lovell. I am Chris Lee. We're Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris, and we'll see you again.